I need to be extremely clear to you that this is real. There is nothing fabricated in what I'm about to tell you. There are what I can only describe as zombies out there, making their way to you right now. A few nights ago, I saw a news story on my phone. I opened Google to search for something, and underneath the search bar, there were the usual news article I expected to see. But one of them mentioned something about a violent rabies outbreak nearby. The picture underneath showed a low-quality image of a person being handled by police or doctors into what looked like a truck. It looked to me like a screenshot from a video. It had that blurry quality. I didn't click into it, which was a mistake, because as time passed, the headline gnawed at my mind until I opened Google back up to search for the article. I found nothing but the older reposted cases of rabies in animals. I thought nothing of it, foolishly assumed I misread the headline, and it was nothing to even concern myself with. I remember the next warning came from Snapchat. I was laying in my bed scrolling through stories when I got to a friend of mine who works at a nearby hospital. The image was black with some pink. The background some people create by placing their finger haphazardly over the camera instead of using a black background for text. The caption said something like, "We need help at Seymour Hospital. Patients are out of control. Please send help." I thought it was very strange. It made me feel sick. But once again, I wrongly assumed that maybe this woman was stressed at her job and was being dramatic online. However, her next snap was undeniable. I played it in a loop for a few minutes, pausing it to get a good look at what was going on. Two patients and a doctor dressed in scrubs were walking through the hallway of the hospital. The video was taken from inside the room with a window to the hallway. Voices were shouting to the patients to remain in their beds and to stay away from the infected. Doors were being locked as hospital staff attempted to isolate the three people. A doctor was holding a chair out defensively as they approached the doctor, who I assumed at the time was infected with this rabies. The sick man lunged forward, attacking the chair and snarling like an animal, as a different member of staff ran up behind them with a needle, which was injected into his neck. Then they ran quickly behind the door while the agitated men jumped to attack them. Meats were lying on the floor and one of the infected patients had restraints around their arms, which I presumed were once attached to a bed. The next video on the story showed two of the zombies fighting, ripping each other's skin off while doctors and patients watched from behind locked doors. Cops were standing in the distance. Perhaps they were assessing the situation before deciding what to do. However, that was the last story this friend of a friend had posted. I replied to the story, "What's going on?" I got no answer. I searched news pages for information, refreshing and refreshing until someone was talking about it. Everywhere I went, I had to keep checking the news, on the radio in the car, the TV at bars, on my phone. 2 days had passed until a new story was released about the rabies outbreak. They said it came from infected beef and it was nothing to worry about. It didn't look like nothing to worry about. People who were infected were breaking free from restraints and tearing each other's skin and hair off. Why was this not being reported? I saw a few people talk online and sometimes I would pass people on the street talking about what was really going on. My nephew went in with a fever and we haven't seen him in days because the hospital is quarantined. Rumors went around experiments being done at the hospital and abuse by doctors. The next day, on my own street, I saw 3 police cars outside my neighbor's house. They were being rallied into the cars in handcuffs. What was strange was that they seemed to be arresting the children as well. The cops were wearing the equivalent of hazmat suits full arm gloves and face masks, keeping their distance from the family. A cop actually knocked on my door and asked my relation to my neighbors. I said I didn't even know their names. He asked me invasive questions about how often I saw them and came into contact with them. I said I work from home and do not speak with those neighbors. I thought it was all strange and knew at the time it had to have been related to the disease outbreak. Last night, however, I knew something strange was happening. I was laying in my bed with my window open when I heard someone walking down the street. It is not unusual to hear this, but what was unusual was the slow pace at which they were stumbling down the path and the strange noises they were making. I glimpsed through the blinds to see a skeleton barely alive, bleeding its way down the street. I thought it was some kind of stunt, but since then I have learned the truth that all of this is too real. This was a person who was infected with this zombie disease, with their eyes hollowed out and only a skull remaining. Both hands were bone and blood leaked from under the loose skin onto the sidewalk. I thought about calling an ambulance, but I thought maybe someone else would do it. I was too captivated by the walking corpse. Once they faded from my view, I checked all of my socials. To my surprise, the mutual who worked at the hospital had posted again. They are lying to you. Stay inside, don't go near them. This is true, as I have been watching from my phone. Person after person try to help those poor souls, only to be attacked and ripped to pieces and end up as the same walking skeleton. Figures move slowly through my town now, and I am trapped inside. I keep refreshing the news, and there is nothing about this. How is there nothing? Someone has to report this zombie outbreak. Please listen to me. Tell everyone. Zombies are real. I have seen it with my own eyes. I don't know why they are covering this up. A million reasons come to mind, but please know that I'm telling you the truth, and please don't trust anyone. If you see someone who looks sick and like they need help, stay away, or you will end up like them and have your skin torn from muscle and bone while the infection begins to breed in your body. They are making their way to you with no warning. They bite and snarl and growl under their breath like animals. If a fight breaks out, run in the other direction. Stay safe. I'll pray for you if you pray for me.